You remember the phrase, video games cause people to be violent? This was something that kind of started to become very popular as a saying in the early 2000s, late 2000s, and even in the 2010s. And the reason why that all started was because of like Mortal Kombat, Grand Theft Auto, and games in a very similar nature. And one of the big people that you always saw complaining about video games and saying they cause people to be violent was either soccer moms, you had old people, politicians, news anchors, but also people from Hollywood. Now, why? Why would people from Hollywood and these politicians, etc., want to say that video games cause violence? Well, here's one big reason. Video games in its very early stages, in the early 2000s and late 2000s, were really beginning to showcase their narrative weight. That they really could tell a thought-provoking story that can get a lot of people engaged and immersed. And so because of how it was kind of slowly taking footholds and steps into the territory of, let's say, Western media, like, for instance, Hollywood movies and stuff, you can see why some people legitimately would want to slander video games and try to throw it off the map, so to speak, to make sure that people won't want to participate in gaming culture because it would potentially, lose them money. So they want to make sure it looks bad in the common consumer's eyes. So to make a long story short, we fast forward to now the 2020s, and we have a bunch of countries, and this isn't the first time I've seen something like this, but it is still very relevant to talk about. We now have a report coming from the United Nations saying that they think manga, anime, games, and all that, cause violence and cause gender stereotypes and people to be violent towards women and children. And I'm just like, we're literally living through the age again of video games cause violence, but now it's anime and manga cause violence. And I'm just like, dude, if you're pulling this argument, okay, let's play devil's advocate and let's go on the limb and say, fine, okay? Let's want to humor this for a second. That means that movies in general, hell, even books, literature, also theoretically should cause violence. Obviously, I don't think that's the case. I don't believe media, literature, and all that causes violence. People that usually enact on these type of things were already ill to begin with, mentally ill and not okay. They were going to do something vicious to begin with. All I'm saying is that this is crazy, that you have, in this day and age, like, countries trying to basically ban and censor everything because they think it's going to cause violence towards a group of people. And I'm just like, there's so many bigger problems in the world that it's just like you decide to focus your attention on anime, manga, and video games instead of anything else. There is just so many other important issues that you could just think about. And this is what they land on. This is what they want to put resources on. I'm just like, dude. And the reason why I'm talking about this, even though I don't live in the United Nations, the reason why this is important to talk about, for one, is to get the information out there of this ongoing, for people that do live in the United Nations. But secondly, if this, theoretically, I don't think it will go anywhere, it could become a nothing burger, but theoretically, if this gained traction and stuff like this actually did happen and they somehow ban or censor anime and manga, this could have a cascading domino effect on other countries. We've already seen some effective usages of bans and censorship in Australia. And so, like I said, if, like, United Nations went through with this and they definitely did somehow get, like, full-blown censorship and bans of anime and manga, then this could eventually seep its way into other countries and other culture because of, other huge Western countries kind of bowing down to censorship, so to speak, which is wild. So that's why I think it's very important to talk about these subjects, because, like I said, it could have a rippling effect on so many other places going forward if this went into effect. Anyways, getting on to the main point, this article has been making the rounds. For instance, this statement, and it all stems basically from this post. I commented on this a few days ago, back on October 30th, and this is when it really happened and all that. I commented on it, and I did the Google translation of this post, and this is basically what the official statement was on about anime, manga, and video games. So let's read this. In this final opinion, concerns were expressed that prawn, video games, manga, and other animated products may incite violence against women and girls based on gender or sexual orientation. It further recommended effectively implementing existing legal measures and monitoring programs to address the production and distribution of prawn, video games, and animation products that reinforce discriminatory gender stereotypes and reinforce sexual violence against women and girls. Wild. Once again, this goes into what I talked about, how, like, that age-old setting, video games cause violence. Now they're saying it that anime, manga, and all this other type of stuff causes violence. I'm just like... There's so many more important things in life. There's so much more important stuff than this. And I cannot believe a government, any government, honestly, not just UN, but any government, I would do this for any government would focus on this over any other issues. There's bound to be issues about maybe housing, or maybe people like with job situation. There's bound to be something in terms of just like maybe getting roads fixed up or something, you know, infrastructure, so to speak. But instead of focusing on problems that really do affect people in their daily lives, they focus on something that is very low-hanging fruit just to act like they're actually doing something. It's wild to me. I really hate stuff like this. I hate censorship to begin with. All forms of censorship, I don't like this. I don't agree with this, and it's just like, I especially hate it when it's being used as, like, rhetoric, like, similar to video games. That's literally what is happening here. It's just crazy, man. It's a clown show. Like, just straight up, it's a clown show. And it's even crazier that this comes out around the same time as, like, when this came out as well. Literally a few days prior to, basically the church, the Vatican, having a anime girl mascot. It's just like, what is even going on in this world? It's very clear that anime has become a lot more accepting and popular as of late, and this gets into the discussion I had at the beginning of the video, and I think one of the big pushing driving forces of maybe anti-anime is probably Hollywood to a degree. Because it's like, let's be honest, there's a lot more fans of anime nowadays, a lot more people stepping their toes into the anime for the first time, and obviously that could cause a lot of people not to really care about much what's coming out of Hollywood in comparison. So I do think it potentially has an effect on them, and maybe some people over there as well in, like, entertainment industry is not a big fan of anime potentially becoming as popular as it is, because it is theoretically stepping on their toes. Now, I have no evidence to support this, obviously, but it makes sense from a business perspective why they would be potentially upset, and they would want to potentially be cutthroat and try to slander any form of products or any form of competition. Anyways, I will leave it at that. I wanted to talk about this situation and bring it to light that the UN is apparently wanting to, get rid of anime and manga to some degree, or ban it, censor it, etc., because it promotes violence. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below how you felt about this, but I love you guys, be safe, stay healthy, Chibi out.